Papa told me I couldn't do a lot of things.
I feel like I'm the chosen one.
Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. All we are is proud and passionate. I love Toronto. I love this team. And we're going to the NBA Finals. Let's go!
Nothing matters but winning.
Welcome back to episode 62 of Rapzville Weekly. I'm your co-host Gabriel alongside
Adam Casucci.
And today we have the Orlando Magic doubleheader, a crazy sequence that we got to talk about. Both games we were able to defeat the Magic, starting a little bit of our winning streak here, and with a crazy performance from Fred VanVleet in the second game of the series. He had a career high and also a Raptors high in points in the game. So we got a lot to talk about. Before we get to that, as always, please like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let us hear your opinions and your thoughts on some of the questions we're going to talk about. And check us out on Instagram at Rapzville for also Raptors content and NBA content as well. We're going to do the same type of format that we did last episode. It seemed to be doing a little bit better in terms of engagement from the audience, and I think that that might work a little bit better in terms of getting an overall discussion, and then after that, focusing on a player-by-player breakdown of the game and making that a little more condensed. So, Adam, take away the discussion here.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about why the Raptors shouldn't tank, because there is a lot of topic and a lot of discussion about the Raptors tanking this early on in the season, even though we're just at a 9-12 record, and we still have it's a quarter in basically. We still have a lot of games to go. I just wanted to talk about why we shouldn't tank, because of the Raptors winning culture, not trying to take a step backwards really with the 7 years we've had. Making the playoffs, getting a lot of engagement from fans, and really not relying on draft pick percentages. When you rely on draft pick percentages, I think it's only a max of 25% if you come dead last in the NBA. So it's not still a great chance of you getting that first pick, and I wouldn't want to rely on percentages in this point. And as the Raptors culture, we always fight to the end, and we're not going to give up anything easy, and that's why I think we shouldn't really tank.
Yeah, basically I think the diehard fans and, big sports fans in general, they always want to see their team win. So that's where a lot of us stand with this, is that we want to see them winning game in and game out. But at the same time, the argument can be made that if you're just winning a couple of games, not many fans lose engagement, and even you don't make the playoffs, you end up in 10th, 11th, or 9th. You're in this limbo stage where you're not going to do well in the playoffs, and you're not going to win a championship with a team like that. And at the same time, you're not excelling as much because you're not receiving a higher pick in the draft. Like there's definitely possibility of being stuck in a phase like that, and people might not want to be there. So I understand where people are coming from when they have the idea of tanking, but the odds aren't fantastic. Right now, the Raptors are sitting 10th in the Eastern Conference, and the East has been very close so far. The West has been a little more win heavy, and I think the East, we're not looking like a bad team so far. There's a lot of teams that are from basically 6th to 11th that are kind of around the same range. So there's room to move, and there's room to make the playoffs here. And the percentages right now, we'd be looking at maybe an 8th or a 9th draft pick, which obviously top 10 is nice, but it's not like your top 5, top 3. So the odds are not the best. So right now we're in that limbo stage. So it looks like we got to lean towards one way, and hopefully it's towards the winning route, because we have had a decent stretch so far, a couple of good games, the Orlando games under our belt, and maybe we can move towards a nice hot streak and get back into a playoff spot.
Yeah, I feel like we embrace the word winning more than any other culture. We talk about it in press conferences. The players bring it up, the coach, even the front office, and we really look to win at all costs, and that's really us. And I think that's the best way to do it. Moving on to our next topic, I wanted to kind of discuss our feelings about being kind of underdogs on paper, kind of going into every game, and our confidence as me and Gabe look into every game, and how other coaches think when facing us, and kind of looking at the weaknesses and strengths that we have.
We talked about it the past couple of podcasts. It seems that we've taken a step down, obviously, in terms of losing key pieces year after year. And I feel like going into this year and seeing the horrendous start that we had, I was very worried about the team. I vocalized it. And I think even now, it still looks like we're missing something. It's just we don't have the right pieces, enough pieces to make this team a huge contender, hence why we sit at the 10th spot right now in the East. And I think comparing us to other teams who have made good trades or step ups, or even teams that have just performed better, like the Memphis Grizzlies, Phoenix Suns, I just feel like we don't look as good on paper against many teams. There's only a few that we're looking better than, and I feel like every game we're kind of the underdogs, or we're not the favorites to win the game. And sometimes it works as a sneaky mentality because we are a tough team defensively. For sure we can be, and offensively we're on and off right now, but we could be as well. So we could be an underdog that people don't expect to come out, and we can shake them up a little bit. But at the same time, it's not good to feel like the ones being hunted all the time, as Kyle said. We want to go back to being the hunters.
Yeah. No, I kind of really agree with that, because right now we're being put as underdogs on paper, and I think it's obviously because we did have the maximum depth with Ibaka and Gasol in our lineup, and even though we didn't have that superstar name, obviously when Kawhi Leonard left, so when we did pick up Aaron Baines and Alex Len, we kind of dropped that depth level a bit, and that's why I think we're being put as such underdogs in this situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Now moving on to Fred's 54-point night, really breaking the Raptors franchise record for points in a single game, as well as most threes in a half. Also beating Moses Malone's 53-point record for points by an undrafted player. That is pretty astonishing from a player that wasn't really looked upon to be great or anywhere near great, and to do to make a feature like that, that's just insane. Why was it more special than DeMar's and T. Ross's, Gabe? T. Ross's, in my opinion, got the 51 on 29 shot attempts, and it was in 44 minutes, and kind of the same thing with DeMar DeRozan's. A 52-point game was also on the 29 shot attempts in 44 minutes. Fred's performance, I think, was just pure efficiency. It was really only on 23 shots in 37 minutes. Fred wasn't really getting forced the ball like T. Ross and DeMar was in their games against the Clippers and Bucks. The ball was really finding him from his movements, and it was really in rhythm. There was no get Fred the ball. And Nurse even kind of admit in the post game that he didn't even know that he knew that it was getting close. I think he said he looked up when Fred was at about 46 points. He knew he was getting close, but it wasn't like there was no plays to give Fred the ball or try to break the record, And it was pretty astonishing that Fred could pull that off.
Yeah, he just started off really strong. What he said, I think he made about 5 threes in the first, and he was talking about when he hit that fifth one, he knew that it was going to be a good night, and we needed that because we started off horribly. If you all remember that game, those of you who watched, we started, I think we were a 14-4 run against us. Orlando was just destroying us, and then we went on a 19-4 run, and from that point on, we just needed someone to be the scorer, and Fred was making his shots, catch and shoot when he was open, and just creating his own plays as well. He wasn't forcing it. There was just times where we needed a bucket, or he was on with a bench unit that's not the best at scoring, and he's one of the starters that's on, so he took his opportunities and made his buckets when we needed him to. So it wasn't like he was forcing shots, or it was just hand him the ball. It was just a regular play, the odd ISO like it should be, and catch and shoots. It wasn't anything forced, and like you said, very efficient. That's the one thing that was the most spectacular part about it. 17 for 23 shooting and 11 for 14 from 3. A lot of guys that get these 11, 12 3-points in a game, they end up shooting 18, 20. They end up with about 50%. So for him to do it at such a high percentage, it's crazy. And he was one off from for holding the record for Raptors threes in a game. But he still broke, he had his career high. He had the most points in a game by a Raptor, like you said, 3.5, and being an undrafted, that just makes it all the more better, passing Moses Malone's record, a true legend, obviously, in the game. And for Fred to do something like that, it just shows people he really did bet on himself, and he embodied the meaning of that saying. And I'm glad that he put something like that branding and that type of mindset, just bringing that into the NBA world, and then actually showing it off and making it true that he was able to do such a thing. And, people give him recognition for that. They acknowledge that because, a lot of people, they believe that it's keep up to your grind and stay and do you. And then eventually it'll pay off and people will see that. So he really embodied that people didn't believe in him. He just went on his own, grinded out, went to the G League, worked his way up the ranks, and showed off that he should have been a top draft pick for how well of a performance he put up. So it's just a great story, I think, and it makes everything all the more better.
Yeah, and it made it really special for me also because my favorite player is Fred VanVleet, and a lot of the times when he gets to the 30 or 40 point mark, he usually starts trying to be more of a facilitator. The team start doubling, putting more pressure on him, and I thought in this situation he just kind of relished the moment, and he wasn't being selfish at all, but he took the chances he was given. And he made it work, and the record was there for the taking, and he just made it. So that's what made the night, I think, so special for me.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the game was totally out of reach for the Magic, so we kind of did need Fred to score. It wasn't like we were just like boosting his numbers. Like it was pretty much a decently close game. Even at the end, we were up always by like 12, 14, 15, but in the final minute there was like a lead of like 10, and final 2 minutes like a lead of 10, and that's easily cuttable in NBA basketball, but I think like it wasn't any type of stats being boosted. I think it was just a fantastic performance, and I think the efficiency shows that. So definitely a historic night for Raptors fans in general, and it was great to see that it was Fred who took the lead.
Moving on to our next topic, should Fred, Lowry, or Siakam be an all-star? Let's start with Fred. After having this amazing performance, probably our most consistent player, like we've mentioned in previous episodes, for the Raptors this season, putting a multiple 20-point performances. And he's been playmaking at a high rate. His defense has been off the charts. And not just only, I think, should he be an all-star, he should be in the talk for a defensive team, actually, in the NBA, because his defense has been amazing in clutch moments, and his steals and blocks for a guard at his height is actually insane.
Yeah, I think to start with him, if I had to pick anyone in this team, I would give it to him. I think he's taken a huge step up this year in terms of responsibility and just play-wise. He's been a lot better. You know, his PER is the highest in the team. Points per game, also the highest. Assists, 6 assists a game, second highest in the team, just under Kyle. And rebounding decently for a guard. And like you said, the defense is what makes him fantastic. He does it on both ends every night. Steals 1.8 a game. That's in talk for a defensive team. And blocks, like you said, 0.7. It's quite impressive. I believe he's tied maybe for second most on our team with Watanabe, just after Boucher. So it's phenomenal. And it's not like he's fouling a lot as well. He has limited number of turnovers. He shoots well. I think that this is his year, and I'm hoping that Raptors fans will help push the voting system, because right now we have no Raptors in the recent results that came out. So hopefully we start pushing some of these guys, especially Fred.
Yeah, and I think he's been the one making a lot of the winning plays when we are winning games, and he's been a huge factor in all those wins. So I really think that he should be the top one, really kind of making it to the All-Star game for the Raptors. Moving on to Lowry, I think he's just under the mark. I think a lot of guards, Eastern Conference guards, are shining in the league this year, and I think he's going to kind of be overlooked, especially because he was in the conversation a lot because of the Raptors' record and how good they've been performing in previous years. Now I think without that winning record and not having the best statistics to show for it, I think he will kind of drop in conversation. But I think he still is an all-star caliber player when he wants to be, and that's no disrespect to him, because Kyle Lowry is an amazing player.
Yeah, I agree with the end of that statement there. He's still an all-star level player, but in terms of voting and the system that we're in right now, I think that he's taken a step down in terms of his own play, and then in terms of getting votes and such. The Raptors were not winning like we used to, so less of a chance of him getting there. And I think some of these votes, like Colin Sexton off of Cleveland, I feel like someone like Fred could easily beat him out if we were, in their position. If the roles were switched, we were in whatever they are, 7th or 8th, and they were in 10th. That would happen. And you have someone like D. Rose, who's in 8th, who always kind of gets voted off of fans, kind of because we all love his story and coming back from injury, but their team's in dead last. I really think that someone like Fred should easily have priority over him, or should be above him. So I think Kyle, he is a solid player, but in terms of number-wise, I'd like to see Fred get to the All-Star for the first time, and Kyle to just take the backseat in this one. He has been All-Star for many years now, consecutively. I think he holds one of the highest, records consecutively right now, people that are active. So I think it's time for a switch. I think I want to see Fred get acknowledged for his great play as of recent.
I will totally agree with that statement. Yeah, I think the switch is needed, and especially in this Raptor team. Moving on to Siakam, I do think this is a pretty tough one. I'll be honest here. Siakam's performances hasn't been really consistent throughout the season, and that's why I don't think he will make it to that All-Star role. But I mean, he is an All-Star worthy player. I mean, he is a max contract player, and it kind of looks foolish on our franchise to not have our max contract player in the All-Star game. And I just feel he hasn't put up the statistics to be in it. Just constantly bad statistical nights. The efficiency hasn't been good. But of late, I have seen that addition in that playmaking ability that we've all been looking for with Siakam, and he's kind of dropped the 3-point attempts, which I think has helped his case, and kind of just focused on the inside scoring and what his strengths are on this Raptor team.
Yeah, his numbers aren't horrible, but I just don't think that this is going to be his year. There's obviously already big names in the front court on the East. Now we have Kevin Durant in here as well. So obviously there's KD, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, and you got other guys that are stepping up. Sabonis has been great. Hayward, who's playing quite well. Grant, who's taken a step up. Julius Randle, who's putting up big numbers for New York. I just think that there are a lot of players in the East that might have a better argument to make of why they should be a part of the All-Star team. But then again, it goes to standings, right? Like Miami, they were struck a little bit with COVID, and they're sitting at 13th in the East. We're 10th, and they have Jimmy Butler and Bam, both high picks. So then it's a question of like how much do these winning, how much does like the records come into play? Yeah. Does it come into play a lot?
Yeah, the winning records and pure statistics, I think there's a big comparison there, and I think those go hand in hand. I feel, in my opinion, there should be a mixture of winning records and pure statistics, and I want to put an example of a guy like Bradley Beal having an unreal season, and he had a great season obviously last year as well, and being snubbed. But this year, like, he did it again. He was very consistent, even though the Wizards are almost dead last in the whole NBA. The season he's putting up right now should be acknowledged, and he should be in the All-Star game because of pure statistics right there. But the mixture of winning records should be also incorporated, because the whole point of going into this All-Star game is really to lead your team into winning ways, basically. Try to get that championship, try to make it into the playoffs if you're struggling in previous years, doing the things to win games.
It's hard for sure. Bradley Beal is someone that deserves it because his numbers are just outrageous. They're MVP numbers, and like to think that he could possibly get snubbed at in certain years is just outrageous because of you're an all-star player. If you're putting numbers like that, you're an all-star player. And although your team's not winning, like you got to give credit where credit's due. But stuff with like guys like Butler, like he's only played 9 games. He had COVID for quite a bit. Like how is that going to work? There's a lot of talk about is the system of voting with fans, is it proper? Because guys that are injured or out could end up getting good results and have like tons of picks even though they don't deserve it. Like Klay Thompson is in 10th in the West for guards, but he hasn't played at all because of his injury. So what's the voting system here? No,
that I don't agree with. The guy hasn't played a game this season. I think that's based off of just pure reputation and what they've done in previous years, obviously having nothing to show this season. So yeah, that's why the fan system is, I think it's a little bit off kilter there, and I don't think it's the right way to do it. I think there should be 10 people or 10 NBA legends that have played the game before, that do understand the game, and they make the decisions. Have a consensus or a survey, whatever you want to call it, and then make their picks from there.
Yeah, just I guess try to eliminate the bias and base it more off of just outstanding performance and get like proper judging is what we're going for.
Yeah, and then one last topic here. I want to bring up Malachi Flynn. We just saw that he has been moved to the 905. And how does this really benefit his career and plans moving forward for this Toronto Raptors team?
Well, it did come out just recently, it might have been today, that Pascal, Fred, they took him under their wing, and they were talking to him about going there and looking to improve, because obviously they all had their fair time, and look where they are now. Boucher, Pascal, Fred, they spent their time there and they got better. They learned things. They got more confident in their game, and then they came to this team and made an impact and grew a name for themselves in the league. So clearly there's things that work by going to the G League and practicing and developing, and it could definitely be beneficial to his career in that sense.
Yeah, not everyone has the same career path. I think this is a good move from Malachi Flynn. Not everyone's gonna come straight into the NBA and perform. I think it was a little bit early. He had a lot of hype going in from Raptors fans, including us, Gabe. We thought he was going to be coming out of the gate, be our backup point guard. Everything is suns and roses, but it's not. It's just it didn't pan out that way. Not getting a lot of minutes from Nick Nurse also, and the defense has been a bit lackluster as well. So I think the 905 is good to get him touches. Get him kind of used to the system, even though he's not playing with the same players on the real Raptors roster. He's still getting to know the system, and I think more reps in game, I think, will benefit him right now.
What do you think about now the team moving forward here? What's the system off the bench looking like?
So I'm thinking Bembry, I'm thinking TD, I'm thinking Stanley, I'm thinking Yuta, and I'm thinking Boucher. That's the 5 I think I want to see night in, night out off the bench. And I feel like if any one of the guards isn't having a very efficient or is turning the ball over, not having a good night, I say you put in Matt Thomas in. Or if you even need to spread the floor, I think he's a great guy to just pop in there. Doesn't need to be on the ball and could give you it both sides of the floor. 100% effort, even though Thomas has been a bit poor on defense this year.
So I guess the key there is getting Terrence Davis to become a better playmaker, less turnovers, and someone like Bembry to really take over that playmaking off the bench. And we've seen it a bit. Even Stanley, who can have the ball in his hands just because they're not traditionally the best shooters, so working off of them could work. Just finding confidence in that bench lineup, maybe even having Norm with them could make it work. So let's move on to the games here. We got to talk about each of them, and we'll do it fairly quickly. Game 1, Raptors won 115-102 to the Orlando Magic. And this one, we basically had a strong start and just held through to the end. The big story of the night here, I think, was Pascal Siakam's performance. He had 30 points, 10 rebounds, 3 steals and a block on 12 for 23 shooting. And it was just, I think, a lot of energy, intensity, and just a will to win this game. A lot of guys weren't playing the best, were not shooting well. For example, Fred, he went 4 for 12 from the field, 9 points, 5 assists, 1 for 7 from 3, 4 turnovers, and then look what happened in game 2. Kyle Lowry, 12 points, 4 for 13 shooting, 2 for 9 from 3, but Kyle had 15 assists, and a lot of that was feeding Pascal. Terrence Davis starting 12 points, 5 for 11 shooting. So there wasn't much production off the starting lineup, but Pascal Siakam, he just really wanted this one, man. He was attacking the basket strong. He was being crafty, a lot of different moves, being aggressive, getting to the line, and making all of them for once. And he didn't stick to the three-point line. We always talk about it. He took 2 threes, missed them both, but when he was inside, he was efficient for the most part, and he did a good job at carrying the scoring load. And it was just a great performance, an all-star performance that we like to see. And also shout out to Aaron Baines. He got about 30 minutes in the night, 8 points, but he had 16 rebounds. I think that his role has improved a little bit the past couple of games in terms of being somewhat strong defensively and a little bit helpful on offense, but mostly just needing a bigger body who can just get the glass and set big screens. I think that he's been doing a better part so far.
How about that matchup on Vucevic kind of keeping him quiet for most of the game?
Yeah, Vucevic had a really rough night, 5 for 18 from the field. He had 15 points, 14 rebounds, but 2 steals in the night, but it was much more quiet than at least I expected. I was expecting a huge night from Vuce, and it was that's how it ended up being. And Aaron Gordon was another talk of the night, 14 points, 5 rebounds, and there was one play where Kyle Lowry was looking to box out, backed up and believe hit Aaron Gordon in the groin, and there's a bit of history there because Kyle kind of was responsible for his injury in the bubble by kind of hitting him out of the air on a dunk attempt, and that plus the groin hit seemed to fuel Gordon up. So there was a play where Orlando was trying to go in for like a quick bucket, and he was trying to get on the inside of Kyle, kind of catch and make a layup. And while Kyle was running back, he just stepped forward and laid his shoulder right into Kyle, knocked him over. Was given a flagrant 1 for that, and then later in the game got injured. A little bit of karma on that play, and is now out for like 4 to 6 weeks. But it was definitely a lot of heat right there, and I know that was interesting for Raptors fans to watch.
Yeah, I just think Lowry kind of gets under your skin a bit, and that's going to happen with him a lot. But yeah, I think that was it was a fair reward. I mean, with the flagrant one, I mean, I don't think it was an ejection, but it was really intentional, and he didn't mean to do it, so it kind of makes sense what happened.
Yeah, it looked worse on watching it back, and everyone thought like, oh, what the hell, get this guy ejected. But then you saw later it came out that play, Kyle hit him in the groin, and you're like, okay, now I see where this kind of built up from, but still it was definitely a dirty play. So yeah, that was the story of the night. And I also want to just mention Bembry had a great game, 12 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 4 for 6 shooting, and a block in 21 minutes. He seemed to step up past couple of games, man, getting more of a role in this team, being a bit of a playmaker, also just making winning plays. He's a veteran player. He seems to have solid defense, and on the offensive end, just helping plays work out. Even Watanabe stepping up huge, 11 points, 3 for 4 shooting, 3 for 3 from 3, a steal and 3 blocks. The energy that this guy brings, man, it just proves time and time again. And Nurse is talking about his lack of mistakes, and just like Bembry, it's almost like they bring a veteran experience, even though, Watanabe's not no veteran, but it seems that way. Their defense is just, really impressive. Their energy on the floor, they just lead to winning buckets and winning plays, sorry. And it's been working really well for our team. And I think that these are 2 guys that we can start looking towards in the future. And I think they're going to get bigger roles.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in the league, I just think in general, I think the veteran players just adapt to situations much better than the younger players. And it's just meant to happen, being in the league for such a long time. DeAndre Bembry and kind of going through his stint with the Hawks and stuff. So kind of understanding how the NBA is and how to wait your chance, and then you have to pounce on that opportunity when it comes. And the guy has been doing it really, and is really seeing that opportunity as the backup point guard.
Yep. It basically carried over. Game 2, we won this one 123-108. And after, like I said before, we had a horrible start. Like, we couldn't score a bucket. And then we turned it around and somehow ended up winning the first quarter. And after that, we pretty much just won every other quarter of this game and started taking a big lead in the third. And, of course, largely due to Fred VanVleet's absolutely crazy night. So we talked about that. We can skip over that. Some other performance I want to talk about. Kyle Lowry. He had 14, 10, and 10, triple-double on the night, and 4 steals, but 3 turnovers and 4 for 11 shooting. So, obviously, the game before in this game, it's clear that his shooting, and even past games, we talked about it, his shooting percentage has been horrible. He literally just looks like he can't shoot a basketball out there. But and he was 3 for 8 from 3. So, we definitely have seen a decline in his shooting ability and scoring ability. I've noticed it completely. He takes a back seat in terms of scoring and looks for more rebounding the ball, getting assists, playmaking, facilitating. And maybe that's the role he's trying to transition to as he gets older and Fred starts to take over this team from the point guard position like we saw this night. So I kind of understand that. But besides the rough shooting, he has been stepping up in his assist numbers. Like I'm saying here, he's got 10 assists this game, 15 the last. He had a triple-double plus 4 steals. We haven't seen a defensive effort like that in a while from him. So, it was just very impressive, at least on that end, that he's starting to make himself more well-rounded, even if the shots aren't falling. But obviously, we'd like to see him be a little more consistent from there.
Yeah, and Gabe, I think you're really right with that point about Kyle. I think Kyle, even though he says he'll do anything for the team, he really will. But he knows, I think, inside himself that he is not that go-to scorer, that first option. He likes to be the guy to do other things on the floor to get his team to win. And that's what he's been throughout his career. And I think that this role, I think we're just shoving him into becoming the scorer. It's not the right role for him. And I think that Fred VanVleet, with him stepping up scoring-wise, I think it's perfect. And that will just fit perfectly together with Kyle, hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. The thing is now is just hoping guys can stay consistent because, like, we've seen Freddie had a couple rough games this year. So what happens when we get those? Can our team still hold up? Are guys going to step up and be consistent? That's what we need to make sure we can fill those holes. Norman Powell, like I'm saying here, he stepped up. He filled the spot even though it wasn't needed, but he added to the scoring. 23 points in the night for him. Also 4 steals, 7 for 15 shooting, 2 boards, 2 assists, all in 28 minutes. He just shot amazing. He was a great scorer for this team. It was him and Fred literally holding up most of the points, more than half of the points. And I just thought it was a great game from him. Just really impressive. We were glad to see him step up and just helping carrying the offense, especially at the start, him and Fred, to carry this team to a good lead and then sustain it afterwards. So pretty much that's all I got to say about him.
Yeah, it's for Powell, the process is pretty simple. You give him minutes, he produces. That's basically it.
Yeah, and then VanVleet, like we said, we gave him 18 minutes. He's getting the minutes now. 4 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, rebounding, making plays out of it, being like a taller point guard, 2 steals, good defense. That's really what we're asking of him, and he's delivering. And yeah, that was pretty much it for the Raptors team in terms of their performances. For Orlando, Vooch, this game, now he wasn't as silent as he was last game. He was making more of his shots. The other ones he was missing wide open, not anymore. He had 21 points, 18 rebounds, 9 for 19 shooting. And other big performances in the night were Fournier, who started off extremely strong. It looked like it was going to be his night, but then Fred quickly took over and said, no, I got the spotlight. He had 21, 5 and 4, 7 for 14 shooting and 2 blocks, 7 for 15, and 2 blocks. And Cole Anthony, another night of 16 points. He had scored well both games, but this game especially, he was a problem for a bit. He had 7 boards, which is quite impressive for a guard, 7 for 12 shooting. He had just a great game in general, and they had a couple other pieces who scored pretty decently, and were a little bit of problems off ball. Okiki, Bacon, and Ennis all proved to be a little bit of a tough matchup, just making good shots off the bench. But yeah, very, very proud of the team for coming out with 2 victories, and hopefully we can transition to something. We got a really tough opponent in the Brooklyn Nets next game, so let's just hope for the best from this team, and hopefully we can see a turnaround.
Yeah, getting these back-to-back victories and then having the team experience like a record-breaking night with Freddie,
Yeah.
I think the team morale is going to be very high going into the Brooklyn Nets game. And I think they'll have to be on their A game, obviously, with the Brooklyn Nets having the 3 stars in, Durant, Harden, and Irving. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I want to see what Nurse does with the matchups and the schemes defensively. And I still think we could pull through here. I'm going to call right now. I say Raptors win this one.
Yep. It's definitely going to be tough. I'm not going to say it'll be easy. I think the morale is high. We saw them in the locker room going crazy and celebrating. Now it's about how do you take on a team like this, a super team with 3 big stars. The role players can step up and produce. Harris can make shots. TLC off the bench can make shots. Jordan's a big body. But how are we going to match up? Let's see what Nurse does against KD, Harden, and Irving. But that's pretty much it. We hope you all enjoyed. As always, like I said, please like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Check us out on Instagram at Rapzville. And yeah, that's us signing out. Peace.
Deuces.